Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and the New York Giants. The New York Giants are the most desperate team right now in the NFL because they need a quarterback in the worst way possible. And when you look at this free agency class, it's not the greatest, but I will say this. Every quarterback on this list, now I'm about to name off, is better than Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and Tim Boyle. Those are the quarterbacks right now on the Giants roster. You have Russell Wilson. He's a free agent. You have Justin Fields. He's a free agent. Aaron Rodgers and Sam Darnold. All four of those quarterbacks are looking to go elsewhere. Now, when it comes to Sam Darnold, that situation with the Vikings, he could go back, but they have JJ right there sitting in the wings. Justin Fields, it seems like the Steelers, they're all in on him, but it is a chance they may pick Russell Wilson over him. But all the signs right now from everything that I'm reading, it seems like Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback with the Steelers for the foreseeable future. So it comes down to Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, and also Russell Wilson. Now, I want you guys to understand this. The reason why I say that they're the most desperate team in the NFL. The Raiders, they have leadway right now. Aaron Rodgers is part of upper management. You have a brand new head coach in Pete Carroll, a brand new general manager. That leash is longer. No one is expecting for the Raiders to go out there and to be a Super Bowl caliber team overnight. No one is expecting for the Raiders to go out there and be a playoff contender in this rebuild right now. When you look at the New York Jets, we all know they're rebuilding. They tried the experiment with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. It didn't work out. Brand new general manager, brand new head coach in Aaron Glenn. They're in a better situation. You look at the New Orleans Saints, brand new head coach in Kellen Moore. And you have Derek Carr, a solid veteran. So those teams are better off in their situations than the New York Giants because of this. Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, they're both on the hot seat. It was a lot of reports that came out that ownership was very cold on Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, but he wanted to have more patience because he understood the situation that Joe Schoen was placed into. And they tried to meet with Russell Wilson, and they tried to bring him in. They had conversations with him right after he got released from the Denver Broncos, but he went with the Steelers instead. The reason why they wanted to bring him in was because he was a better quarterback option than Daniel Jones. And they knew this. And this is right after they gave Daniel Jones a contract extension. Granted, Daniel Jones suffered a torn ACL, but let's just be honest here. The biggest mistake that the Giants made was paying Daniel Jones all of that money. When they declined that fifth-year option, that showed you how much faith that they had in him at that point in time. And they made the NFL playoffs. At the time, it was a great thing. Future-wise, is one of the worst things that could have happened to the Giants was the fact that you made the NFL playoffs and the fact that you beat the Minnesota Vikings in that playoff game. Because you had a lower draft pick, you could not move off of Daniel Jones, and you were placed into a terrible situation to where you had to go out there and basically franchise tag Saquon and pay your quarterback in Daniel Jones. And I will say this, you're going to always pick the quarterback over the running back. Because it's easier for a running back to come to the NFL with the right offensive line pieces for him to dominate than it is for a quarterback to come into the league and dominate straight off the bat. It rarely happens. And when I look at the situation with the Giants right now, you have the worst quarterback situation in your division. The Cowboys, they have Dak Prescott. Say what you want to say about Dak Prescott, but when he's fully healthy, you can make the case that he's a top 10 quarterback. Jaden Daniels had a phenomenal rookie season. Jalen Hurts, they just won a Super Bowl. He won Super Bowl MVP. He's a top quarterback in this league. And Saquon, that player that Joe Schoen let walk away, ran to the Philadelphia Eagles and won a Super Bowl in year number 1. So all three of those quarterbacks are better than the quarterbacks that the Giants have right now. And when I look at Aaron Rodgers, he already wants to join the New York Giants. He was trying to gauge interest to see if the Giants want to sign him. He did not do this with any other team. He did not do this with the Tennessee Titans. He did not do this with the Steelers because the Steelers are either going to bring back Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. He did this with the New York Giants because he lives in that area and he doesn't want to relocate. And when I look at the Giants, you may say I'm insane for saying this. Aaron Rodgers would not be a terrible signing. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be your long-term franchise quarterback. Because of the age and because of the injury history, the fact that he suffered a torn Achilles a couple of years ago. But when I look at Aaron Rodgers, 3,897 passing yards, 28 passing touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Is he the same Aaron Rodgers that he was 4 or 5 years ago? Hell no. But he's a major upgrade over Daniel Jones. He's an upgrade over Tim Boyle, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito. And you can still draft a quarterback in the second or third round. There's also a lot of conversations right now about the Giants possibly trying to trade up to the first overall pick with the Tennessee Titans. And if they do that, they will go with Cam Ward, a quarterback that is similar to Josh Allen that Brian Daboll got to work with the Buffalo Bills. And I'm not saying that he will be the next Josh Allen. I'm just saying with the abilities that he possessed, with the big arm, the ability to go out there and to extend the play. That is the type of quarterback that Brian Daboll is looking for. And Joe Schoen has come out and he said over and over again, he's going to take a major swing this time around to bring in the right quarterback by the NFL draft or if it's by free agency. And now look at Aaron Rodgers here. You're not going to pay him a lot of money. You can give him the veteran minimum. The New York Jets, they still have to go out there and pay off that contract, the guaranteed money on that contract. It is similar to the Russell Wilson situation when the Broncos cut him. The Steelers, they gave him a veteran deal, 1-year deal, veteran minimum. The Giants can do the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. And I look at Brian Daboll. He's not a pushover like other coaches in the past. Brian Daboll came over in year number 1. For the guys that may have forgotten this, he basically let Kenny Golladay know this in training camp. If you don't play better, you're not going to play at all. I don't care how much money you're getting paid. I don't care if you go to the general manager. I don't care if you go to the owner. You play for me. And Kenny Golladay only played a few games. Brian Daboll goes out there. He said, you're done. They set him down. He got little to no snaps, and they cut him the year after because he was a terrible signing. And he put the other wide receivers out there because they were better players than Kenny Golladay. Deonte Banks, who I am a huge fan of, had a very good rookie season. His sophomore year, not so much. And I'll explain why a lot of players regressed in year number 2 when they were playing very well with Wink Martindale. He took a step back in his sophomore year. He benched him and then told him you need to have more effort. And until you show effort, you're not going to play on the field. So that's the type of coach that Brian Daboll is. A man that has made the NFL playoffs before with Daniel Jones, won a playoff game with Daniel Jones. That could have just been a 1-year outlier, but we'll see moving forward. But I think that Brian Daboll has a very good football mind. He got to work with Brett Favre in the past when he was with the New York Jets. He did a great job with Josh Allen when he was the offensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills. He helped develop Josh Allen. And give Josh Allen a lot of credit. He is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Hell, he just won MVP. He has been very successful since Brian Daboll. But we didn't see Josh Allen take that major step forward until Brian Daboll went out there and until he became the offensive coordinator and he got the most out of Josh Allen at that time. So I still think that the New York Giants should be okay with him at the head coaching spot. When I look at Joe Schoen, on the other hand, this is a man you have a lot of decisions to make because you have been missing on these draft picks. Malik Neighbors, very good football player. Tracy Jr. at the running back position, very good football player. If he can just hold on to the football just for a little bit longer and stop fumbling the football, I think he could be a very solid running back moving forward. But you bring in a guy like Devin Singletary, did not have a great season this season. You move off of Saquon, you bring in a budget running back. That is what happens. The offensive line is still a mess. You did bring in Jermaine, who was a solid swing tackle, and you have Andrew Thomas. That was a very good tackle duo at the time until Andrew Thomas went down. And Andrew Thomas is one of the best tackles in the league. He's easily the best offensive lineman with the New York Giants. And you have John Michael Schmitz. 3 very good offensive linemen. But your left guard and right guard, they both need some work. And you did select Evan Neal in the first round, who has been a complete bust. He's terrible. He should never play for the New York Giants ever again. And let's just be honest here. He should never play in the NFL ever again. Even as a backup, he's terrible. I saw footage of him in practice. You had guys that are second and third strings. They're getting past him because he is too slow and his footwork is atrocious. He is just a terrible player. It's time to move off of him. After this rookie deal, just let him go. The wide receiving position, you have Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he's a very good player. The thing is with Wan'Dale Robinson, it's a lot of times he's getting wide open. Daniel Jones cannot get him the football, either because Daniel Jones did not see him, because he did not have enough time in the pocket, or he just missed him due to terrible accuracy. But I think there's a lot there with Wan'Dale Robinson. It was a mistake to take him over George Pickens, but Wan'Dale Robinson is not a terrible player. And his rookie year, he suffered a torn ACL. You can still say that was a major disaster, the fact that you took him over George Pickens, because George Pickens is a true number 1. But I like Wan'Dale Robinson. Malik Neighbors is obviously a generational wide receiver. Had a lot of drops in his rookie year, but I think that he will be great. He was able to go out there and shine with multiple quarterbacks, with Tommy DeVito, with Drew Lock, and with Daniel Jones. And he put up a very good rookie season with all things considered. He had the 7th most receiving yards this year in the NFL, 1,204 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns. So if you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers and he has to come in for training camp, he has to come in for the offseason workouts. This cannot be one of those situations where you're 1 foot in and you're 1 foot out, because if that's the case with Aaron Rodgers, just retire, because that is what happened with the New York Jets. He was very toxic, and in his defense, the offensive play calling was terrible with Todd Downing and with Nathaniel Hackett. They were leaving Nathaniel Hackett of his duties. They bring in Todd Downing to let him call plays. You never had a true rushing attack. I look at the Giants. Tracy Jr., when he was able to go out there and not fumble the football, he was able to average 4.4 yards a carry, 839 rushing yards on the season, 5 rushing touchdowns. And this is the thing with Tracy here. He can catch the football at the backfield because he's a former wide receiver at the college level. So the versatility is there. And I'm not saying that the New York Giants will make the NFL playoffs with Aaron Rodgers, because I don't believe that they will. But it will give them a boost on the offensive end. And the reason why I'm harping on a man that is over the age of 40 to show up to training camp, because you have to gel with your wide receivers. This is when you figure things out. Garrett Wilson was basically saying the chemistry with him and Aaron Rodgers did not click into the middle portion of the season. Why was that? Because Aaron Rodgers was missing time at training camp. He wants to go off and do other things. Now, if it was an emergency with the family or emergency outside of football, teams will understand that. They will let you go off, be with your family. They'll let you go off and take care of that emergency. But you still have to report to training camp at some point in time. No one is asking Aaron Rodgers to go out there and beat Tom Brady. Tom Brady, during the pandemic, he went out there and he told Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, the entire offense, if you guys want to go out and get some reps, we will go to the local park. Let's go do it. And they got down to repetition together. It's the small things that will show up on the field. And Aaron Rodgers is a veteran. Instead of him going out there and being toxic behind the scenes, go out there and be a leader. And it is so confusing with Aaron Rodgers, and it's so interesting because of this. Some players like Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard, they love him. And Jordan Love, he had nothing negative to say about Aaron Rodgers, but it's the general manager, it's the coaches that he clashes heads with. So if he could go out there and build a good rapport with Malik Neighbors, with Wan'Dale Robinson, and if they want to bring back Darius Slayton, you can see those wide receivers have career years with Aaron Rodgers because he can still spin the football. Not at the level like how he was able to 4 or 5 years ago, but there is still a solid quarterback within Aaron Rodgers. You don't just go out there and throw 28 passing touchdowns by accident. And that was just a terrible situation with the Jets. They're a terribly ran organization. It's not like the Giants are too much better, but at least you know that Brian Daboll has had success in the past. So I do believe that the Giants, if they sign Aaron Rodgers, it would not be a terrible move. I think that it would be a solid move for them, but you still have to draft a quarterback in the 2nd and 3rd round. Because if you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and you should bring in a veteran quarterback, because free agency is before the draft. You have to attack free agency, then attack the NFL draft. You don't want to just go out there and just trade up to the 1st overall pick and get Cam Ward and have Aaron Rodgers on your roster. Now, if you do that, and I'm not against that move 100%, sit Cam Ward down for a year and let him learn from Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love got to sit back and learn from Aaron Rodgers, and he is going to be very opening to quarterbacks behind him because he knows this. Brett Favre was not very charming towards him. He was not very opening and warming towards him. And Aaron Rodgers in the past, he was upset at the time when they drafted Jordan Love. But he came out on Pat McAfee's show, which is still a huge problem if he wants to show up on the Pat McAfee show every week during the season. But he told Pat McAfee, it's business. I'm not going to treat Jordan the same way Brett Favre treated me. And he earned a lot of respect from me when he said that. And when Jordan Love came out and said that he was showing him different things, that he did help him with his development, I was saying, you know what? Aaron Rodgers, he's a guy's guy. The players love him. Unfortunately, the coaches and the general managers, it seemed like they're tired of him. You even had the general manager in the past told Aaron Rodgers, please just don't be the problem. But I think Aaron Rodgers now, he got a wake-up call from the New York Jets. If he goes over to the New York Giants, you will be in a better situation. Now, when I look at this defense, because I did mention a lot of players took a step back. Shane Bowen, I don't like him as a defensive coordinator. I've said this in the past. I've said this on other channels. I think that Shane Bowen is one of those defensive coordinators that you look at. He's very secondary oriented, but his secondary is not a top secondary every single week. You have Deonte Banks, who took a major step back. A lot of it is on him, but at the same time, he did not run into these problems with Wink Martindale. The gap responsibilities were not this terrible with Wink Martindale. They blitzed more often with Wink. You now have a guy in Shane Bowen who's going to let up a lot of big rushing plays. And you can't say, well, Kayvon Thibodeau missed so much time with a wrist injury. That's why. No, that's not the case. Shane Bowen has never emphasized stopping the run. And until they figure that out, the New York Giants will always be behind the 8 ball with their defense. I really wanted Brian Daboll to go out there and admit his mistakes and say, you know what? I got into a disagreement with Wink Martindale. It didn't work out. He's now the defensive coordinator for Michigan at the college level. I hired Shane Bowen. It didn't work out. I'm going to bring in a brand new DC. But they're going to run it back with Shane Bowen. And I don't believe that their defense will be better off because of it. And even with Dexter Lawrence, their defense against the run was still a problem when he was fully healthy. You have Bobby Okereke, you have Micah McFadden. You brought in Bobby Okereke a few years ago to bring in a solid tackler at the middle linebacker position. And he was a very good player with the Indianapolis Colts. I still think that he's a very good tackler. The problem is this. It's the way that he's being used right now with the Giants that is just so confusing. Use him to his strengths. Don't let him go out there and do things that he hasn't done before. I was very disappointed to see how the linebackers are not being shifted over and the lack of adjustments up front by Shane Bowen this season. Do the players have to step up? Yes. But when the Russian defense takes a major step back with a brand new coach, that says a lot about the coaching than it says about the players on your roster. And you brought in another pass rusher that's supposed to go out there and help out your pass rush in Brian Burns, but yet your pass rush was only upgraded just a couple of percentages more with him on the field. So I need to see more creativity. I need to see more stunts, more twists up front by Shane Bowen. Look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did. Granted, all their defensive players up front are amazing, but they ran different stunts, different twists. They ran different plays up front with Vic Fangio. You don't see that creativity with Shane Bowen. And it's more than the fact that Joe Shane let Saquon Barkley walk also. He let him go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Xavier McKinney was a very good safety for many years with the New York Giants. He was a free agent. He goes to the Green Bay Packers. What is one thing the Giants struggled to do this previous season? Take the football away. Who led the league in interceptions? Xavier McKinney. That says a lot about the Giants and the fact that they let their best players just walk for nothing. And that's on the general manager. If this offseason is not a major success, they're going to fire Joe Shane, and I would not be surprised they fire Brian Daboll. A lot of Giants fans feel like that they should have went out there and they should have fired Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, and they should have just walked in with a clean slate. And I don't blame them. But I look at Brian Daboll, I still think that there's something there. And if they do let Brian Daboll go, I'm not going to come on here if they do fire him, and let's knock on wood because I don't want anyone to lose their job. But if they do fire Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, I'm comfortable with saying this. Brian Daboll will get another coaching job, whether it's a quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator position. He will be an offensive coach in this league. Joe Shane, on the other hand, I'm more so worried about him on a personal level. I don't think that he will ever be a general manager ever again because of the blunders that he has made at that position. And not only just that, he was so bad on Hard Knocks. No NFL team is doing Hard Knocks this year. For the first time ever, it will be a college team in UNC with Bill Belichick. And I think that's for the best, by the way. I don't think any NFL team should be on Hard Knocks for the foreseeable future. The AFC North, they covered that entire division. And Coach Tomlin came out, Coach Harbaugh, and Coach Stefanski. They all came out and they all said this. It was a major distraction. It's a clip that was surfacing on X. All of them at the same time. It was a great edit. They were all saying it was a major distraction. Coaches in the past, it was a major distraction. And Joe Shane looked so terrible during that entire series with that year with the New York Giants because he was complaining about Saquon, saying, hey, man, you know what? It took years off my life. I had to franchise tag him. Do I really want to go out there and pay a running back all this money? And we just paid Daniel Jones his money. But they had to realize something. The reason why they had that success on the offensive end was not because of Daniel Jones. It was because of Saquon. And I understand where he's coming from. That quarterback position. Even if your quarterback is mediocre at best, you're going to pay that quarterback over that running back because that is how the NFL has worked over the last 10 to 15 years. Hopefully that changes one time in the future for the running back position, but we'll see. But I say all of this to say this. The Giants, they're desperate. They want to bring in the best quarterbacks possible. I think the best quarterbacks that are out there would be Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. And the Steelers, they're either keeping Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Omar Khan came out and he basically said, hey, one of these guys, we're going to sign them before free agency starts. And I think that it will be Justin Fields. So if you try to bring in a guy like Russell Wilson, he may be easier to work with, but it's a connection there with the Raiders. Pete Carroll is there, his former head coach with the Seahawks. And Pete Carroll's come out and say, man, I'm a huge fan of Russ. Russ knows how I feel about him. Even though we traded him from the Seahawks, we can bring him right back in. And he had major success with Pete Carroll. So him going to the Raiders, that's a strong possibility if the Steelers don't want to bring him back. Sam Darnold coming to the Giants. Do you want to pay Sam Darnold a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal off of just having one great season? And this is coming from a Sam Darnold fan. But I don't think that Sam Darnold's going to go out there and have the season that he had with the Minnesota Vikings that he's going to have this season with the Giants. I just don't see it happening. Because the same talent is not there. You have a great wide receiver in Malik Neighbors, but the offensive line is significantly worse. And the Minnesota Vikings had a lot of problems with their offensive line. And I look at Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the best possibility, and I think that'll be the best signing for the Giants right now. You go with a guy in Aaron Rodgers. You bring him over, let him be a bridge quarterback for a year, let him finish out his career with the Giants. If he tails off, you swing in that rookie quarterback. And if you cannot trade for the first overall pick, and if I'm Joe Schoen, I'm doing whatever it takes to secure that pick because you're not about to fire me and give the next general manager just the golden ticket to the franchise. Hell no. I would trade all those assets. Go up there because he's trying to save his job. Go up there, get a Cam Ward. Hopefully that works out. Sit him behind Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully the leash gets longer for both Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And if you can't trade for the first overall pick because, let's be honest here, the Cleveland Browns, they're either taking Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. They need a quarterback in the worst way possible. You could select a guy like Jackson Dart in the second or third round. Or you can just take a huge swing on Jalen Milroe in the third or fourth round if he slides that far. Jalen Milroe is an athletic freak, but this is the thing with Jalen Milroe. His accuracy is terrible. But we got to see Brian Daboll work with Josh Allen. He helped fix up his accuracy. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers possibly going over to the New York Giants? And one more thing before I let you guys go. Don't sign Davante Adams. Whatever you do, don't sign him. Don't do it. It's time for Davante Adams to go off and be his own man again, like how he was with the Raiders. He wanted to go play with Derek Carr. It's time for him to go off and go to a different team. This Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams situation, it's not working out. They need to go their separate ways. You could be very good friends off the field, but it's very weird for Davante Adams to always want to follow his friends around. Go to a contender, Davante Adams. Go to a team like the 49ers. Go to a different situation. Try to finish out your career on a high note instead of following around Aaron Rodgers and instead of following around Derek Carr. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.